So this is the Board of Health meeting of June, incredibly, June 3rd, 2026. We have here myself, Catherine Hilton, we have Arlene Reed, William Levine, Garrett Simonson, and we are hoping to also have Noreen Pease. And as our guest, we have our member-elect, Claire Pless. And I think we should just get started on things. Obviously, the first thing is always for me to have something to write with. The minutes from last time. Did I send them out and are they okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I'll move
move-
to approve, Garrett.
Second, Arlene?
Okay. All in favor? Garrett?
Yes.
Wim?
Yes.
Arlene?
Yes.
Kat, yes. And Noreen is not here. Okay. Before we dive into the really big thing, which is 80 Lakeview, I want to go over a few other things that we can knock off quickly. 29 Lake Drive. I got a call from somebody who has a place over on Lake Drive saying that the neighbor's house across the street, which had previously been a rental, but fortunately the tenant moved out, apparently in disgust. And shortly after that happened, a whole wall collapsed on the house. Not a retaining wall holding the thing. The house wall, one of the house walls collapsed. And I've been meaning to do a drive-by and see what's going on. Megan is also going to drive by and take some pictures and then send it to the building inspector. I don't know if the building inspector can condemn something or if we have to do that, but obviously the place, and it's apparently it's a nasty mess and rats have been seen going in and out, and it's definitely a public health emergency. So,
But no one's living there currently.
No one's living there currently, fortunately. I overheard Bob and Carol Thompson talking to Mateo about they had a wall collapse, not a house wall, but one of their retaining walls down at the other end of the lake. So things seem to be maybe on the move in the ground over there.
In the Lake District.
There you go. Yeah. So that's just for your information. I'll let you know what happens and if we need to take.
So are we meant to have an inspection coming up to officially condemn the place?
I don't know. I asked Megan about that and she said she would look at it and she would then contact the building inspector, and between them they'll figure out what has to happen.
Okay.
It seems pretty open and shut if one of the walls of the house is down and it's full of rats. Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Right. So I've also talked with Megan. I went to the meeting of the, what is it, Garrett, that Thursday morning meeting?
Valley Health Collaborative.
Right, it was the collaborative itself. So I went to that and talked with, and it was a meeting about the budget. And so I talked with Megan and the group generally about how we can get out of this funny situation that we're in, where we have to have public health money in our budget, but we can't spend it because we don't have anybody to spend it on. And it seems because they have set up a revolving account in Greenfield, it seems that we can pretty much immediately start paying our public health money into the collaborative account there. I've asked Megan, but I haven't got a definitive answer yet, if we need to have some kind of memorandum of understanding between Shutesbury and Greenfield, or Shutesbury and the collaborative, or whatever. We did have one, or actually we do have one with Irving for the district. So I would assume that we're probably supposed to have the same thing.
No, Noreen would probably know this better than I do, but I think in order to be a part of Valley Health Collaborative, there had to be an MOA or MOU.
Okay,
So there may already be something that exists, but that would have been done prior to me being back up to Noreen.
yeah, you know, I have a vague memory of signing an MOU, but I'm not sure if it was with the collaborative or with Irving, or maybe it was both.
Might have been both.
Yeah, but
Because I think that the grants that fund that initiative through Greenfield required that.
right. Okay. I'll follow up on that. I was thinking that since we're going to be paying money into it, which we haven't done directly before, that it might take a new agreement. But and I'm not sure how to find out about that. I'll talk with Megan about it, but I need to talk with somebody here. I'm not sure, I'm not sure who it would be.
Actually, and now I'm starting to have additional memories that I went to a select board meeting because Noreen couldn't to explain the relationship, and that we maybe asked them to approve something for us to be a part of Valley Health.
If there was an MOU, they would have signed it as well as me, probably.
Yeah, and this is probably going back at least 2 or 3 years
Okay,
ago.
okay.
So.
I'll see what I can find out. Apparently, all this is kind of conditional on we're assuming that the state grant is not going to be renewed and we're going to have to pay our own way. If it is renewed, we're going to be put back in our weird situation. So I have mixed feelings about the state grant, unless the terms of the grant can be changed. So we'll find out. Is there anything you guys want to tell me? Or, the world at large? All right. Well, okay, so the big deal tonight has to do with 80 Lakeview. And I sent you all the septic inspection report. I hope you got a chance to look at it. And I was thinking that this is kind of a good opportunity for some of you, Garrett probably, and Claire certainly, to kind of get a sense of what these Title V reports are and how to read them and what information you can get from them. Historically, Title V inspections have been part of Title V since the 1970s. It was updated in the 90s to the form that we have now. The difference between what we have now and what we originally had is that originally there were basically three categories. There was a pass, there was a fail, and there was a marginal. We no longer have marginal. They either pass or they fail. And do you want me to put the thing on the screen share?
Sure.
Yeah, that would be good.
Let's see. Is that a host tool? No.
Or at the bottom of your screen, there is a share button.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
share button.
Oh, here we go. Okay, and okay, can you see that?
It's scrolling. Oh, there it
Yeah,
is.
there it is.
Okay, so you can see that in section B there are a bunch of course there is conditional pass, but conditional pass usually means that we put some kind of condition on it, right? We'll call it passed if you do whatever. Needs further evaluation, the one that was checked, generally has to do with there's two ways a septic system can fail. It can fail functionally, where you get backup or ponding or clogging of the trenches and so on, or it can fail dimensionally, meaning that the components don't meet the setback requirements. And so usually what happens is it's too close to the well, and they usually test the well right away, and then they attach the well report to the Title V report. And if it passes, then we pass it. If it doesn't pass, then it fails. So what we have in this case is wells just all over the place. So if you look at this starred section here, okay, numbers 79, 81, 82, and 83, okay, are between 50. We are believed to be between 50 and 100 feet because the inspector didn't really have access to those. And the well for this property is about 66 feet. Well, 56 from the tank and 66 from the leaching pit. So last time we talked about this, we said we don't know what to do. So I asked Megan and Mike Thoreau for their advice on it. The first answer I got was it's unless you have passing water test results for all of the wells that are less than 100 feet away, then you have to fail it. There are a few problems.
I'm sorry, can you say that last sentence again?
Unless you have passing water test results from all of the wells that are within 100 feet, then you have to fail the system.
Okay, thank you.
There are some problems with this. The whole neighborhood is substandard. All right, nobody meets the dimensional requirements. This is a very thin border on the lake at the north end, yeah, and it goes up quite steeply right behind number 80. So there's basically no backyard of any kind. It's just a hill going straight. The properties on the other side are tiny. There are at least two tight tanks and possibly a third one. I think there's a shared well there. 3 of those wells are on the opposite side, on the lake side, and one of them is right next door. Oh, somebody's here. So, so there's 2 problems with getting water tests. First, there's the problem of people not being willing to get their water tested, because at least for the Board of Health, because they don't want to be on the hook if something is wrong. The other problem is that given the multiple irregularities in the area, there's no guarantee that if somebody has bacteria in their water, that it's coming from the septic system at 80 Lakeview. All right, so we could, what Mike Thoreau was talking about was make them put in a tight tank. And we could go ahead and do that, and it might not solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to go over this a little more fully with you. So at the top of this page, you can see that these are the conditional pass conditions, right? They can replace broken pipes, they can clear obstructions, they can reorganize the distribution box if it's not good. Right, and of course, if it needs pumping more than 4 times a year, obviously it's not good. Um, so all the functional failure requirements here in section 4 are checked no. Right? So we don't have functional failure. We only have this dimensional problem. This is just how they went about it. We don't have to think about that right now. A description of the system. So
is there with these abutters, is there a risk of sort of a cascade effect? Like if these guys are all within 100 feet of the septic system, are they all in violation as well?
are they all in
I
violation?
mean, are they apparently they've got their own septic systems and they're all just crowded in one after another, right?
Yeah, right.
So they're all within they're all too close to each other.
Yep.
Well, some of them may have tight tanks,
Oh,
which would change the
right, the
criteria.
criteria. Yeah.
Right, right. I think the one directly across the street is a tight tank. Possibly the one next to that is a tight tank. The other two that are on this list, I think, are conventional. But they are all close. And unless there is um, an obvious threat to the public health, by which I mean raw sewage coming out of the system and running down the street or whatever, we don't have any leverage here.
Right.
We only have leverage when the Title V inspection is done at the point of sale. And there are basically two reasons for doing the Title V inspection. One is just for that reason, so that we can intervene at a convenient moment to bring a system up to code or as close to code as it can be gotten. And two, to inform any buyers of exactly what is on the property. Obviously, it's not guaranteed, right? It's specifically said that this describes the conditions at the time of the inspection, and there's no guarantee of future operability.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure exactly how this cascading repair problem that you're invoking would happen. Often what happens around the lake where the lots are small is that as long as the system is approximately functional, it stays as is. And then if it fails inspection, or if there is an outbreak or something, then they switch over to a tight tank. So we have quite a few tight tanks now around the lake. A couple dozen, I think. So we have a few things that could happen. We could say produce passing water tests from your neighbors. And if you can't, you'll be in failure and you'll have to have a tight tank because it's 99 and 4400% certain that a conventional system could not be placed on this property. It's just too small and too steep.
In that case, Kat,
Mhm.
who takes on the responsibility for testing those abutters wells? The person with the system that is too close to the abutters wells? Do they take on the responsibility for testing their neighbors' wells? It feels awkward to turn that responsibility over to an abutter who's not otherwise looking to change anything and saying you have to test your water annually or something like that.
It wouldn't be an annual test, although I certainly wouldn't object to an annual test. It would be a one-time test that would become part of the Title V inspection report.
Although when we've issued a local upgrade approval for a system between 50 and 100 feet from a well, we have required water testing annually.
That is true. That is true. And I would think that in this case, if we order any kind of change, we would also order annual water testing.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we could order annual water testing for the other properties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for the purposes of the Title V inspection,
Okay.
I would think that it would be the responsibility of the owner of this property to get those water tests if she can and pay for them.
Are there other options? I mean, I like your first option, just compel them to put in a tight tank.
That, well, that is one of the options. So, okay, so that's one option, put in a tight tank. A second option is get water tests and basically pass the system that is there, assuming that all the water tests are clean. There is a third option that that Megan has suggested, and she sent me a text. I'm gonna find it.
And
She said, I reviewed that septic system for 80 Lake Drive. My opinion is that if you can get the water tested from houses number 79, 81, 82, and 83, and they all pass the nitrate level test, then house number 80 would have a passing Title V. Oh, wait. If you cannot obtain water samples from those houses or they come back with nitrate levels above 5, then 80 Lakeview Drive would need a tight tank. But she sent me something else that was also helpful. I'm sorry I didn't set it up in advance. Let me look in the emails here. Oh. Okay, I gotta stop sharing for a minute. Okay, so I said that that I was concerned about the water test thing because it would not be absolutely watertight, if you will, that it wouldn't necessarily tell us what we want to know. So she answered this way. I spoke with Mike regarding the Title V for 80 Lakeview. He suggested that if you do not require the water tests, you should at least require replacing the tank before passing. Since the current tank shows signs of corrosion, is located under the driveway, and is not H20 rated, Replacing it should help extend the life of the system and prevent inadvertent water contamination. I understand why water testing would be difficult, since a high nitrate level could be coming from the homeowner's house or Lakeview Drive, by which she means other ones on Lakeview Drive. So that is a third option. Get her to replace the tank. So those would be the three options that we have. In order to fail the system, we would have to I'm going to read you a little bit from Title V. It's about the dimensional criteria. So if it's less than 100 feet, but 50 feet or more from a private water supply well, unless a well water analysis conducted at a laboratory that is certified by the department for the parameters analyzed indicates an absence of fecal coliform bacteria and the presence of ammonia, nitrogen, and nitrate nitrogen is equal to or less than 5 parts per million. Unless it meets those criteria, the system fails. So there's kind of two parts to that. One is if the tests fail to meet these parameters. But there's also the problem that that we could simply not have the tests available so that we don't know.
You mean by not having them available, the problem is, can you compel those neighbors to do annual testing?
We're not even talking about annual testing. We're just talking about a one-time test.
One-time test.
For the purpose.
Right.
For the purpose of this. And I don't think that we can compel them. We could ask them.
Yeah, but they don't have any incentive to do it, really.
Right.
And if, let's say they did fail, they could say, yeah, it's that guy at number 80, and number 80 could say, no, it's the two guys who have conventional tanks. They're the ones who are causing the problem. It sounds like it's potentially really complex. And even litigious. It sounds like a way more straightforward approach would be get a tight tank.
I agree. Yeah.
So,
and how does that work if it's under the driveway? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it happens.
Huh.
They have well, let's look at the picture again.
Yeah. Like, is that a garage door right next to it?
Yes.
I thought you're not allowed to drive over these things.
Wim, you have no idea how what kinds of things are going on under the ground because these
If it says Schedule 40 pipe, I think they allow you like we have a Schedule 40 pipe that goes under our driveway out to our yeah.
Here, let me oh, I need to go into sent. I want to find that thing again. Here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the picture. Here's the road. The lake's over here. Right. Here's the septic tank and the leaching pit, and the garage doors are here. Right.
Wow.
So she drives over them into the, and then back here it just goes like straight up. Right. There is
straight out to what?
Straight, it goes straight up in the air. I mean, it goes straight up to the hill.
through the woods and then to Wendell, the dirt part of Wendell Road?
No, no. Basically, have you been to my house? No, I know Arlene has. My house is basically back here someplace. So
Got
it's really close. So when it comes, it would be better if I weren't involved in this at all, but I've had to assemble all this information for you guys. Um, so I'm not an immediate abutter, but I am a close neighbor, and I won't vote when it comes to voting on this. So there's a little bit of land back here, but it's very steep. There's a little bit of land on the front here where I suppose a tight tank could be placed, but there's not enough room there, obviously, for a leaching field, right? And then there are other properties here. And then, of course, it's really close to that well, right, on the neighboring
Yeah.
I guess that's her well. This must be the footprint of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't have the actual shape of the property.
Huh.
Anyway, that's where it is. So it could be replaced with a tank that's rated to be driven over whatever that description that Megan gave us, R80 or something, that is made to withstand that kind of pressure. So let me see where the description of the tank is, because there is a problem with the tank. H20, that's what it's called. On what page is this? Page 10. I'm sorry if that's making you seasick. Okay. Says here, tank was pumped during inspection and appeared in decent condition for its age. However, it is beneath a driveway and does not appear to be H20 traffic rated. Outlet baffle was still in place, but showing corrosion on the baffle and tank walls. Liquid level was correct. So there's not a functional problem with it. You know, that's shown by the liquid level.
Mhm.
So my bias here is I am loath to condemn a septic system that is not in functional failure.
Mhm.
Now, I'm only one of us, and I'm not even going to vote. So obviously, you don't have to just, oh, for heaven's sake, verify it's me. Are you kidding? Right now?
That only happens to me when I need to access my email the most.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Ew.
Sorry. So that's kind of my bias. I mean, if we had functional failure here, I would want to replace it, obviously, with whatever it takes. But I'm uncomfortable with the idea of failing something just on dimensional failure when we have an entire zoning district here in which most of the systems are in some way less than perfect compliance. So let me hear from
So one thought that I have related to whether or not it's compelling enough for the abutting properties to test their wells, especially those with conventional systems, is that they themselves could be in a similar situation if they look to go to sell.
Yeah,
So there might be a reasonable argument to present for the homeowner, maybe working with their real estate agent to present to the abutters to encourage them to test so that we could have more information to make a decision. But also to Wim's point, you know, the more costly, but maybe the more easy way is the tight tank approach. Because ultimately what they're going to face from a buyer's agent is, if they were presented with this inspection report, is wanting for there to be a replaced system or to test the neighboring wells and have local authorities confirm what this inspection report's asking us to confirm.
I'm sorry, did I miss something? Is this inspection being done because of a um imminent sale of the property?
the property is for sale.
I see. Okay.
I don't know that there,
missed
I don't know that there are any interested.
Okay. It's not
buyers.
It's not right on the horizon. Okay.
As far as I know, I have not
Okay.
heard about it.
It's listed though, is my
It is listed,
Okay.
there's a sign out
Thank
front.
you. Sorry, I missed that. Ugh.
I hear you, Kat, but this is sort of the cost of transaction in transferring a property. If it's substandard, not that it's failing, but dimensionally, it's still not meeting the requirement. And it's sort of it's a shot across the bow for these other property owners that, yes, they are going to face this same circumstance.
Yeah.
It provides, I think, another compelling argument is that with its proximity to the lake, it really it it potentially creates a biological problem for all users of that body of water. And it just seems like, hey, it's a cost, but it's a good neighbor thing to do. And you're gonna have to step up and bring it up to the standard that is expected.
Well,
Um,
Albert, I want to make one thing clear. Um, there, it is permissible to have the well less than the statutory 100 feet, as long as it's more than 50 feet, and as long as the well passes the water tests that are required by Title V.
I see. So it's not technically in violation.
Exactly. That's the thing here. It does not meet any failure criteria.
Yeah. So
But it's on this gray area, this borderline, and that's why this is so difficult.
It's a high risk situation for well contamination, either of the well on site or a butter's wells.
It is I don't know if I would call it high risk.
Okay.
It is a risk situation.
Right.
It is the space between 50 and 100 feet between a well and a septic system is generally considered safe in Title V.
Right.
could we, as the board, advise those other property owners of this issue and um and strongly recommend to them that they undergo well testing?
We could do that. Um, would they do it? I mean, we can certainly try that.
Well, because then if they didn't do it, then we could say, okay, they get a variance because you're not testing the well water, but this was your one opportunity. And then we just go ahead, and since it's not technically in violation, then go ahead, pass it.
And are you thinking about one-time well testing, Wim, or repeated annual, for instance, annual testing? What sort of scenario are you
I'm just thinking at the point of sale.
at the point of, so a one time?
Yeah.
Mhm. Or, huh,
I mean, because I don't know that after the sale, that if there is a fail, if someone's well water is contaminated, that they can point the finger to that system, since there are other systems that could potentially also be
right.
contaminants.
Yeah, that's an area, as we've mentioned earlier, that's a lot of really marginal installations.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what makes the whole water testing issue somewhat.
Yeah. Confounding.
Yeah, it is confounding because we could get information, but could it could not be it could be the information that is not needed. It could be telling us something else, and then it would be. I mean, what I'm trying to think about here is basically fairness. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, we need to be fair to the the potential buyer whenever one appears in not passing something that's not good. On the other hand, we don't want the seller to suddenly become responsible for well contamination, if there is any, that they're not responsible for, and that we can't know if they're responsible for. I mean, the
Yep.
fact that this person is the one that is selling should not put that person on the hook for everything that might be wrong in
the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right.
Now there's a point that I want to make about the lake, and that is there is pretty frequent water testing in the lake, and we have never had septic system contamination that we have been able to identify. The lake is actually it's got a name for being dirty, but it's not. The lake is actually quite clean. Sometimes they have testing failures at the state park after a hot, busy weekend. And that's kind of small and localized, and it washes through. We've got something like 6 million gallons a day or something going through when the dam is open, and it gets flushed actually quite well.
So the belief is that's from the bathers at the state park.
Yes. As far as testing in other parts of the lake, we've in the past we've investigated that, and we have not ever found any indication of septic system contamination, nor have we ever found evidence of septic system contamination of any wells. Right, and so we've had a lot of Title V inspections in the 30-odd years I've been on the Board of Health, and many of them, because of the dimensional requirements, many of them have been accompanied by well tests. And the well tests are, I can't think of one that has been contaminated by septic system bacteria. There have been some cases where there's been not fecal, but a regular coliform that usually is caused by a breach in the cap on the standpipe of the well.
Hmm.
So I just want to, set the sort of the groundwork on that so far, septic system contamination has not been a problem at the lake.
So even though you're going to recuse yourself, what do you think your recommendation would be?
I think possibly the middle way that Megan and Mike suggested, which is replace the tank.
With a tight tank.
No, just with a regular tank.
Oh,
Leave the system in place. The place where there's a problem is,
The degradation of the
of the
Okay.
septic tank. They didn't say anything about that was on page 10, was it? Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it said there's corrosion on the baffle and tank
Oh, yeah.
walls. And Megan said that replacing that with a new tank that is H20 rated for traffic
Right.
would extend the life of the system and make it safer.
Okay.
So that seems to me to be, it seems to me to be the best way to be fair
Mhm.
to all the parties. I would certainly like to see well tests from the neighbors, but I'll tell you something. If I were one of the neighbors, I wouldn't test my well, or at least
Nope.
Yeah,
I
right.
wouldn't test it and hand the results over to the Board of Health. I
No
might test
way.
it for my own knowledge, but you can certainly see why people would not want us to have the results.
Sure.
That's because you're known in town as the sludge judge. What is a sludge judge?
I don't know. I think that
I saw
I
that.
assume that it's some kind of device that they use to measure the depth of
Wow.
the tank.
Yeah.
Huh.
Right.
Wait, Wim, are you calling Kat the sludge?
Yes, from now on, she is
No.
heretofore known as the sludge judge.
Order in the court.
I'm working on your t-shirt right now.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I can't make this stuff.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
This one's beyond me. Yeah, but
yeah, this is really difficult. So if it seems to me that we could table this and think about it some more. You might want to read parts of Title V
well,
or not,
not
or we could just dive in
yeah.
and vote on it. What's the sense of the meeting here?
So I do have one question. So if we took that middle approach that you're talking about, Kat, to replace the tank, the existing tank, with a new properly graded tank, does that ultimately address if somebody came back out to reinspect, does that ultimately do away with that asterisk on this current report where it talks about, this well for this house is plus or minus 56 feet from, does that still come into play
That's a
when
really good question.
when a
Yeah.
new inspection is done? So in other words, are they still so they replace the tank, but then they're going to come back out and give it that um,
No,
same marking?
no. Obviously, all of those wells are still gonna be there.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna be re-inspected. Unless or until the next time the property comes up for sale. So this is in our jurisdiction, right? We want to be on the right side of the law here, but we do have some, I think that we do have some leeway. What the certification here is needs further evaluation by the local approving authority, and that's the Board of Health. So we have, what's the word I'm looking for? We have leeway. It's not the word I want, but it's the one I got. Right, it is
But,
up, it's up
yeah.
to us.
And
Now-
also, we would be following the counsel of those experts, right?
Yes, yes, people who have had the Title V training that we haven't had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so it doesn't sound like a liability.
Something that we used to do back in the day, and this is possibly when there was marginal, or maybe it was even when the form was the one we use now, is that we would, well, whenever we are expected to rule on whether the inspection is a pass or a fail, when it's that particular one, is it 3? We generally send a letter and require that the letter be made part of the inspection report. And in it, we give our judgment on how, on the condition of the system. And we can then sort of explain what the problems are, right? So that the inspection report does what it's required to do with respect to potential buyers, which is to give them a clear picture of the situation as it is at this moment, right? So that we would explain that that there are these wells nearby, that we are requiring, if we were doing this thing, whatever we were requiring, we would explain what was being required. And I think that we would also want to add that in the case of failure, a tight tank is probably going to be the only option.
Yeah.
Right. So we would make sure that all the information that a potential buyer ought to have would be included in the final form of the inspection. So if you'll excuse me for a minute, I'm getting thirsty. I'm going to get a drink of water.
So H20 tank replacement would not also include well water testing.
I'm sorry, replacement with a tight tank? Is that what
No,
you're
with the H20
saying? Oh,
conventional
H20,
tank.
H20, yep, okay.
Yeah, but it would not include the requirement that the well water be tested, only in the case that after the tank was replaced. But
So I don't know about that, Wim, because whenever we do a local upgrade approval, which is the approval of a system that includes a setback between 50 and 100 feet from a well, even a single well, we require that the owner do annual well testing.
And I think we would require it in this case too, don't you?
Yeah, well, the standard.
Yeah, so that was my question.
So that means we're talking about 4 abutters? Is that right? 3 or 4 abutters?
Yeah, it mentions four addresses.
Yeah,
Two
being
of those
told that they
addresses
should
may,
test annually, and that feels, I have to say, that feels awkward that when a neighbor is incurring a local upgrade situation, that we then require the other people to take on the burden of annual
no,
water testing.
we can't do that. We can put the annual testing requirement on the property that we are,
Yeah, but not on the
but
abutter.
not, but not
Okay.
on the others. On the other hand, um, usually if there's going to be a problem, it's usually going to be the nitrates because they move
Right.
laterally through the soil rather quickly, and or readily. I wouldn't say rather quickly. Obviously, the on-site well is the closest one, right? So if the on-site well is passing the test, that suggests that the other wells are still okay.
Sure. Right. That makes sense. It's not a guarantee,
No,
but it makes sense. Yeah.
So let's say what if we recommended this H20 tank replacement with annual well testing, and then what if the water testing showed contamination? Would they then have to dig up the brand new H20 tank and put in a tight tank? So they'd have two tanks they'd have to go through?
Ah,
hmm.
And how many well test failures do they get before you say, oh, nope, not okay?
Well, I think it depends on what they fail on. If they fail on coliform, we would have them disinfect the well and try again. If they fail on nitrates, no, they would immediately have to go to a tight tank. There wouldn't be any other way. Right, because nitrates would be a pretty clear indication that it was coming from the septic system.
Yeah.
Whereas coliform, sometimes it comes from the ground.
Right.
yeah.
So, I mean, as long as they understand that risk, I mean,
Right.
so here's the other thing is the seller is going to be paying for this upgrade, right?
Presumably, it's the
Yeah, yeah.
seller's responsibility.
Yeah.
Sometimes buyers and sellers make their own arrangements, and the buyer takes it on. But it's basically the seller's responsibility by law.
Yep. Yes. So they won't be around. They won't, presumably, they won't be around anymore should nitrates show up in the well water a year
Yeah.
out.
Right.
Mhm.
So
That's
then
true. That's true. So they're buying that risk.
yep.
But I mean, we're all buying that risk given that we all have wells and septic systems. That's just a condition of life in Shutesbury.
Yeah. Garrett, what do you say?
I guess we go the I guess we go recommend the middle route of encouraging them to replace the existing tank.
With annual testing.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I
As
don't
part
think
of
that we could encourage them. I think we'd have to require it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what it ultimately.
Yeah. It sounds like that's the safest course of action without involving all these other neighbors.
I guess what I'm confused on, Kat, is what you brought up at the beginning of this discussion about what Megan was
Mm.
recommending about we could pass it if the neighboring wells all tested okay.
Okay, tell me what's confusing.
So it seemed like that was kind of the starting place of this. And so I'm trying to understand if we have them go down the road of replacing the tank while the inspection report says that it's not properly rated, but it hasn't failed. It's structurally okay.
Hmm.
We have them replace the tank, a reinspection or a new inspection that's required by, say, the buyer's financing. Still brings up this other point. Are we still in the same place of they're going to want the neighboring wells to be tested?
That is a possibility, I suppose. Um,
And maybe I'm just getting hung up on the neighboring wells, and really the best
yeah,
solution is to just to um, have them replace the tank.
it seems to me that Megan's proposal that we could replace the tank presupposes that the other wells, like the well on site, are not being affected by this septic system. And we don't know, of course, if they're being affected by their own or each other's septic systems. I kind of lost my thread there. Help me out here, Garrett. What am I trying to answer?
I'm just trying to think through all of the elements that are listed here. So there's the not ideal tank that's currently there, but has not structurally failed. And then there's conversation in this report about the neighboring wells and advice that we've received from Megan that says that we could pass this system based on well testing from the neighboring properties.
And as we've previously alluded to, the fact that the well testing on the property that we're discussing, that very well seems clean, is an indicator, but obviously not a guarantee that the other wells are probably doing fine also.
Or at least if they have a problem, it's not being caused by this.
Exactly. It's not coming from this property. And the point of this also is you want to allow these people to sell their property, right? I mean, you don't, yeah,
Right. We don't want to be holding up a sale or a potential
right.
sale. I don't think there's one in the works, but we don't want to be
Right.
making it possible.
Yeah. So while I think we could get around this, the current system is not structurally failing. However, there are defects noted. It's not clear that it is H20, so strong enough to be driven over. And then there's the concrete is showing age.
Yeah, there's corrosion. I don't know.
There's corrosion.
I'm not sure what would be corroding, but it's been noted.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I wonder if we should have sort of plan A and plan B, in which plan A would be see if you can get the other wells tested, see if they pass.
Mhm.
If not, replace the tank with a conventional H20 rated tank in the same place where it is now.
Yeah, but you'd have to put a time limit on it. You'd have to say, this is the buyer's responsibility to see if their kind neighbors will test their wells within 30 days.
It would be
Yeah.
the seller's responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Did I is it oh
You
that's not
said
what I
buyer,
said.
but I'm
Oh,
sure.
I meant seller, yeah. Otherwise, yeah, you go to plan B. Because I think we all agree if we were in that position, we probably would we even if we liked our neighbor, we might not get our well tested.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Mm.
because then you're opening the door for the sludge judge to come after you.
Right. Um, well,
I mean,
here's
we could present it as those options, Kat.
Mhm.
So option one is to provide the board, to work with your neighbors to have their wells tested and provide the board with results.
Mhm.
And option two is replace the tank.
Yeah.
Well, here's another question. If that tank is somewhat substandard and replacing it would potentially extend the life of the system, do we want to, if plan A works and everybody's well is tested and turns up clean, do we want to not require the tank to be replaced?
Yes. Yeah, that's the exclusion, but that's a much lower probability that everyone is going to go along with A. So I think the default is going to be B. Put in the new H20 and test your own water.
Yeah, I expect so too. Just on the off chance that plan A actually pans out. Certainly there are other septic tanks in town that are not in perfect condition. I mean, we get pumping reports from the septic system pumpers, and they usually comment on the condition of the tank, whether it's good or fair or occasionally poor. So it would perhaps be overreaching for us to insist on replacing the tank if
Mhm.
the first plan
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
successful.
Hmm. I mean, you could get away with it though, since it is in their driveway, and and it and according to the inspector, it may not comply with that weight
Right.
load of vehicles,
Yeah.
which would cause further breakdown, I guess.
I guess. I mean, we're figuring it's been there for 50 years.
Oof. Yeah.
So,
But the condition of the tank is described as having some corrosion. I can't remember the other thing, but not cracks and
right. Right, there's no sign of structural damage
Yeah.
or failure on the tank, it's just the corrosion and
Right.
the fact that it's not rated for traffic. Obviously,
Oh, yeah.
not getting cars driving over it, day after day.
Yeah. Yeah, and on that ground alone, as I think Wim has said, we would have plenty of grounds for asking that they upgrade the tank.
But remind me, did they get the results of their own well water testing back?
Yeah,
Yes,
I read the results. There was no coliform, no.
And it was fine. Yeah.
it was fine, there was not no,
Oh, it was within acceptable limits, I should say.
yes, yeah, like the maximum contaminant level was like 10 and this was like
Right.
0.14, something like
Oh.
that. I mean, it's well within the
So our other option is just to approve it. Right?
Right.
yeah, we could approve it, but
With
then we have the problem of the other wells.
Hmm. When you say approve it, you mean approve, like declare it
Give it a pass.
compliant?
yeah, give it a pass, but
Give it a
you
pass.
could with a stipulation of annual testing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I've got hold of the thought that I lost before and said that Megan's suggestion about the replacing the tank was predicated on the supposition that if this well is good, the other wells are good, and that replacing this tank with a better tank would basically protect the whole neighborhood into the future.
Hmm. Yeah, but do we have grounds for requiring that? I mean, ideally, yeah, they would upgrade their tank, but if they can meet safety criteria without that, are we
Are we
in our
overstepping?
bounds to require that they replace it?
What would be the grounds for requiring that we replace it?
Can you say that again? Sorry.
I'm just asking, I'm just wondering to myself, what would be the grounds for requiring it? Obviously, if there were some other component that was substandard,
Yeah.
it would have to be replaced. And in fact, we've seen that there are conditional passes where where there are conditions that things have to be replaced,
Mhm.
and
Right.
that's
Broken
how
pipe.
it gets passed. That as part of basically as part of the inspection, they discover that one of these things is affecting the system, and they fix it. Right? Sometimes they don't even usually they don't even ask, they just fix it.
Yeah.
But this isn't one of those.
Right.
Now, yeah, how much authority do we have here? That's the question.
I'm not sure. That's a legal question, right?
Well, I think it is. On the other hand, sort of from a practical standpoint, we could fail this system. right? That is within our authority. We could say you don't have passing water tests from all these abutters. And therefore your system is in failure and you're gonna have to replace it. And we know that replacement would be a tight tank. So we have a certain amount of leverage here, right? And when I don't know exactly what our sort of statutory authority is, but we have a certain amount of leverage. We can say, okay, you don't have that, but rather than fail your system and compel you to have a tight tank, we are offering you this other option, which is replace the tank with something that is more likely to be protective of the public health in the future.
Well, the other thing is that if they did go all the way to this, probably most expensive option C, which is go right to the tight tank, it is indemnifying the ultimate buyer of this property should any of those other properties have difficulty with the purity of their well water, because they can then say, hey, it's not us. You have no claim against us. We have a brand new tight tank. So, I mean, there's a lot of peace of mind, I would imagine, in that, since all those other wells are within the 100-foot.
Yeah. Is this a year-round residence or a seasonal place?
It's year round.
Year-round.
At least it's year round now. And it has been for, I'm not sure how long.
Not that that should
Many
change your
years,
decision,
many years.
because its current status doesn't obligate the next owner
Right,
to keep it in the same.
right. But it's not the kind of place that you couldn't live in the winter. People do. I wanted to look at another picture. I feel like we haven't gotten any closer to
I know.
a good.
No, you were right. It's
Kaplan.
Yeah.
it's complex.
Is there anyone at DEP that we could pick their brain? Or I wonder.
Or
Yeah.
or who is the I couldn't read the signature of the inspector who filled out that Title V.
It's somebody named Luke Roddy, and he's located in over in 978 somewhere. Let me go back to the top and see.
Templeton.
Templeton. Yeah, never heard of him before.
Yeah, so I don't think, asking another inspector who what their opinion is, that wouldn't be helpful, I don't think.
Yeah, probably not.
So the H20 traffic related septic tank requirement went into effect statewide in March of 95.
Okay.
And this report seems to suggest that the system went in sometime in the 70s, right?
I think so, yeah. That makes sense given what I know.
So it's been driven over since the regulation for H20. That's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that further reinforces Garrett's earlier suggestion that we request that they replace the tank with an H20 and perform annual testing. Even though it hasn't technically failed.
Yeah. I mean that I think Wim originally suggested it. I'm just trying to think through whether or not we're acting if we have the authority to just fail it based off of
Right.
that alone.
Right. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, we wouldn't necessarily be failing it. If you look at the certification categories, we have pass, conditional pass, and failure. And obviously, what we need to do is move that X from 3 to one of those others. And we could move it to conditionally pass and say it will pass if you replace the septic tank
And perform annual testing,
and perform manual testing.
and the annual testing falls to the new owners,
Right,
yeah,
right. It
not
would,
the current,
it
yeah,
would have to be, it would have to be attached to the deed
Yep.
yeah.
and be registered at the registry.
Yeah, it's a condition of the sale.
So I think that's where I'm gonna fall on this is we'll conditionally recommend that we conditionally pass it based on the replacement of the tank, because ultimately what I think is going to happen is the financing agent for a buyer, if they look at the Title V inspection, they're going to have concerns
Yeah.
about this system.
Right.
So, a buyer may not even be able to proceed with purchasing the property if whoever they're working their finances through won't do it because of this report.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm landing in the same, I'm arriving at the same conclusion that Garrett is, that we require an H20 tank and annual testing.
So you don't
And
think,
so as to give it a conditional pass, I'm sorry.
right, and so you don't think that the other untested wells in the area will be a insuperable barrier for the financing agent of the buyer?
Well, no more so than any other local upgrade approval we issue,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Right, except that the only thing that's different about this is those other wells. Right, usually when it's pretty cut and dried, right? Their well is too close, their well is say 70 feet away, we test the well, it passes, we require annual well testing and it's all very clean and
Right.
settled. This is a little less so.
And for us to say that the owners of the current property, the 80 Lakeview, or their buyers test their well, we're accepting that their well is like a monitor representative of the status of the other wells. We're
Yeah,
essentially saying that that's an indicator of the other wells' status.
that's an indicator of the status of the other wells with respect to this septic system, because it's no guarantee that they don't have problems.
Right.
Of
Of their own, yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly, and that's why, testing all the wells, even if we could get it, it's not gonna tell us.
It
what
doesn't
No,
we
point to
really
it isn't.
know.
It's better to steer clear, I think, of those other properties. And I'm not sure that a mortgage lender would, I just don't know. but I've never heard of that where they would look at the abutting properties and condition the sale based on someone else's obligation to make sure that their well water is potable.
Yeah.
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 But they will have access to this inspection form.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, so if we
No, no.
conditionally pass based on testing the neighboring wells, that's a one-time thing, and you still have the issue of this older tank that's under the driveway.
Mhm.
So I think it just seems that the best approach is to conditionally pass based on replacement of the tank.
Yeah, I'd be willing to second that.
Yeah. Me too.
Okay, does somebody want to make a motion and go slow? So I'll take it down
Yeah.
word for word.
So feel free to wordsmith with me here.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I'm thinking that I would move to conditionally pass based on the information presented in the Title V inspection, provided a tank upgrade to an H20 rated tank and annual testing. Well
Or
testing.
how many years though? A limit on the
no, every year.
every year.
Well, and so that's the motion. And then I have a question for you, Kat. So then how does that work once the property sells and ownership is transferred? How does that annual testing requirement get conveyed to the new owner?
We have, well, first of all, the letter that we write giving our further evaluation that's being asked for in the report becomes part of the report and is made available to any prospective buyer. In addition, because the property is changing hands, in addition, we could require that our letter be registered at the Registry of Deeds so that it would also be attached to the deed for the house. And that's about as much as we can do, except that when another person moves in, we could conceivably send them a letter letting them know that there is this annual testing requirement. And in this motion, we would want to add the parameters, and I don't think we have to spell that out right here. Our usual parameters for wells and our usual timing, because we want it to be tested at the end of the summer.
Okay.
I think that's a friendly amendment.
Very. Okay. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to give a conditional pass to this system based on the information that we've received, which includes a passing well test, provided that the existing septic tank be replaced with a new tank with the H20 rating, and also provided that annual water testing for the appropriate parameters at the appropriate time be performed and the results be forwarded to the Board of Health.
That's good.
Does that satisfy your motion there, Garrett?
I think so. And does that seem consistent for everybody else in what we've talked about?
Yes. Yeah, you are citing the Title V report, and do you have to repeat what it says about the condition and the distance from the well and all of that? I mean, do you have to repeat all those details or just say, given that we reviewed the report, here's what we are.
Wim, are you talking about the motion or are you talking about the contents of the letter?
I'm talking about, oh, good question. I guess that's the contents of the letter. It would be with those details.
Okay. Well, all the details, well, yeah, we would probably want to lay it out in narrative form, right?
Yeah,
Here's the situation, here's what we want you to do about it. Here's
got
how we probably want you to do it.
okay, good.
So we have a motion on the table. Do I hear a second for that motion?
Second.
Further discussion? Right. Hearing none. Let's go to a vote. We'll go down the order here. Garrett,
Yes.
Wim,
Yes,
Arlene,
Yes.
Kat, I should abstain. Which is somewhat hypocritical of me, but I'll do it anyway. All right, so the motion passes. I will draft a letter to this effect. Do you want me to circulate a copy of this letter for your review before it's sent?
Couldn't hurt. I trust you'll represent us well, but and I don't need it.
no, I think we've talked it through pretty thoroughly.
Okay, Garrett?
I don't think I need to see it, and I think what we've come up with is consistent with the guidance we were receiving from Megan, and
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that in the letter we should mention the fact that in case of a failure here, we'd be looking at a tight tank in the future? Or is that sort of beyond the scope of what we're doing here?
I think that's maybe potentially confounding. I think if we get a bad well test, then we address it.
Yeah, I think it is beyond the scope of this decision,
Okay,
action.
okay. So what I'm going to say in this letter is that there are several concerns that have been raised, that we feel that probably the well result, the water result from this well suggests that it is not having an effect on other wells in the neighborhood, and that we are conditionally passing this. And the condition is that the tank should be replaced and the water should be tested annually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There we are. I think this is a good choice. It both puts some some burden on the seller to make the situation better, but
Yeah.
without creating an undue burden of putting in a tight tank and also possibly seeing the property value fall.
Yeah.
that.
And especially since the type of tank they've got right now is not really rated. It's not rated for the setting in which it is, the being driven over.
Right, and it's true
So,
that probably for 50 years they've been driving over it, but for
yeah,
50 years they've been driving over it. And
right,
how much of that is it expected to take?
right,
The fact that it hasn't collapsed yet doesn't mean that it's not at some risk.
right.
All right, well, thank you for your detailed and lengthy consideration of this.
A tough one.
Yeah, it was very tough.
Hey, can I ask a quick question before we adjourn?
Of course.
Are you familiar with this campground on Wendell Road overlooking the lake? It was a property that apparently just sold. It's a wood lot. It's there's no dwelling on it, but it looks like the buyer has I don't know what they're planning to do. I mean, it looks like they're sort of
Okay,
setting up for a summer camping scene.
tell me more. Where is this exactly?
Um, it is towards the Camp Anderson end of the dirt part of Wendell Road.
Okay, so down toward the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Um, and it, and if you are driving in that direction, it's on the lake side of
okay,
of the road,
okay.
and you'll see a bunch like a bunch of picnic tables and giant rubber made containers full of household stuff um and it looks like some clearing maybe has happened. I don't know. It's I've never seen anyone there, or I'd stop in and say, "Hi, new neighbor, what's going on?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
happening?"
Huh. That's interesting. I'll drive by and see. I have not heard anything about it.
Because
Uh,
it looked like there were maybe two parcels for sale there, right next to each other. Um,
hmm. And are they still for sale as far as you know?
no,
Or
I think one is, and I think this one probably sold, is my guess.
uh-huh. Huh. All right. Well, I'll go and
Because there was that other camping scene. Remember we talked about?
yeah, yeah. I ran into the person who informed us about that and asked him if he'd seen anything recently, and he said no, that they seem to be gone. They did get I forget what they call it, served. They got served a notice from the sheriff's office
Got it.
to not do that, and I have to assume that they did not do that, or else they've hidden themselves really well. And that's the problem, because we can't legally go on their property, right? Unless we're invited, or unless, I don't know, the police need to go there or something.
Well, see what you think. I mean, if you happen to be driving by.
Yeah, I'll go by and see what I can see, and also try to figure out what the parcel is, and then I can find out who owns it.
And
And
if it did just change hands, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it might have.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. Okay. Is it a good sized parcel, or are these tiny lake parcels? Do you know?
No, they're bigger. Yeah. Um, they're up a tier up away from the lake. So, they're right on Wendell Road.
They're on Wendell Road and they're on the lake side of it.
Yep.
Uh-huh. All right, I'll see what I can find out.
All right.
I get on the map right now, but that probably would not be helpful.
No. No. All right.
All right, do you think we're done?
I think so. No decision currently about early July meeting. That discussion was circulated earlier. It depends on whether we really need one, but
Yeah, I thought we'd just wait a little bit and see what business comes before us.
okay.
Yeah, that is all I have on my list here.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you all for your really hard, good work.
Thanks.
Yep, thank you.
And I'm gonna declare the meeting over.
Okay.
Okay.
Have a good
All
night.
right. Good
Good
night.
night,
Good
everybody.
night, everyone.